for that at all. And if there is, we could certainly, you could pause on tonight's ordinance and we can come back and republish for, at a future time for the, for October 3rd for the other options. So currently there's over 70 retailers within the city. Those are all these little blue dots. There's 5 of which, these are more or less like the 100% vape nicotine establishments. There's roughly about 5 of them in the city. We're 20% or more devoted to nicotine sales. And so there's some other options. And then the current ordinance that we have here, this is basically the definition from the zoning ordinance. The use of 20% or more of a gross floor area for the retail sale of cigarettes, other nicotine products that deliver or are used to ingest cigarettes, tobacco products, or nicotine products. So if you have 20% or more floor area devoted to those things, then a 1,000-foot separation applies. Some of the proposed options. So option 1 is what's on the ordinance that's before you tonight on the council agenda. It's more restrictive than what we currently have because it limits the floor area. We reduce the amount of floor area from 20% down to 10%. So if you've got somewhere over 10% or more, then you're subject to this increased separation, 2,000-foot separation and that's from parks, schools, libraries, or other similar vape shops or cigarette types of licensees. The second option proposes an outright ban if you're 10% or more. So that's a bit more strict because now if you're over 10%, you're just flat out not allowed. So it eliminates certain future uses from occurring if you're over 10% of floor area. Option 3 is the most intense or strict. It's basically an outright ban of any nicotine sales. We'd be updating this definition up here, and then basically if you sell nicotine sales, whether you're just a % or 2 at a local gas station or grocery store, if that's a new thing, a new gas station comes or a new grocery store comes that wants to sell cigarettes, it would be just outright banned. So those are the levels that we have here. If there's any appetite for exploring.
Steve, option 1 is what's in front of us today. So if we vote yes, it's for option 1.
Correct.
Thanks.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Weigel.
I think we can cross off option 3 immediately. Not that I'm
I would agree.
pro-cigarette, because we're essentially going to keep anybody from investing in a new business. Like, I couldn't imagine that, say, I think there's 2 gas stations that are in the process of buildings being rehabbed, or one's torn down, the other's going to be torn down. They wouldn't be investing if they couldn't get the profits from cigarettes, because apparently there's no money in gasoline. I get that. I like option 2. I think I'd like to see that. Now, again, this doesn't affect existing licensees, right?
Correct.
So in essence, we'd be making those current businesses more valuable, because that way, when the owner comes to retire, someone else would have to, if someone wanted to be in this business at that 10% level, they'd have to take over an existing business.
Correct.
So not that that's necessarily a bad thing either. I'm all about, managing nicotine, and this is vape stuff too, yeah. Just for my reference, 2,000 feet, in terms of city blocks, the short city blocks, how many blocks is that about, do you know?
Let's see, about
I'm wondering if I look at the downtown here,
Yeah.
is 76th to 73rd 2,000 feet?
I think the 70th to 76th is roughly about 1,500 feet.
Oh, okay, so if there's already one in the downtown, then essentially there wouldn't be another one in the downtown.
Right. Okay. Correct. And which is actually occurring right now.
Yeah,
In the downtown under the current ordinance with the 1,000-foot.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I guess I'd be in favor of option 2.
Thank you. The other part, if there's any other discussion, just stop me, I guess. But I mean, the other part of this is that, as indicated, the options apply to new uses. Existing uses are considered legal nonconforming. They just be a legacy type of thing.
So option 2 would mean that a business would come in and they can't have more than 10% of their floor area being nicotine sales.
Correct. Yeah.
But isn't there already a moratorium in place for?
Well, we currently have an
Right.
ordinance in place. There's no moratorium, but there is an ordinance in place right now, which basically is this part right up here. So if you have a floor area of 20%, or greater, then 1,000-foot separation is required from parks and schools and libraries,
Right.
other licensees. The other portion of this ordinance revolves around daycares. And what's in your ordinance packet this evening is option 1. Basically, small daycares of 8 or fewer. We're recommending be a permitted use, and that aligns with our state statutes in Chapter 66. The law in the statutes does also go on to say that the city may regulate daycare uses for other types of dwellings within a residential area. So duplexes, 3 families, apartments, the city may choose to regulate those. So we don't have to make those permitted by right according to state law. So option 2 basically suggests allowing daycares of 8 or fewer as a limited use, and what that means is that there's some limitations imposed on that otherwise permitted use, and basically just limiting the daycare, the small daycare use to single unit dwellings only. If you have a duplex, you'd have to convert that duplex to a single family, or if you want to keep it as a duplex, you just couldn't do a small daycare. So that's the second option, which is a little more strict than it's currently stated in the packet that you.
Mr. Chair,
Alderwoman Keene.
could you put on restrictions that it's either a single family or like duplex, and then regulate it at when it's above a 3-family, 4-family apartment building? I don't think 8 children in an apartment building as a daycare is convenient for neighbors. Whereas, I could understand a duplex. You do have a backyard. You have more room. It's not quite a burden on the neighbors. So I would personally, I think it should be limited to single family or duplex dwellings, and then anything above.
Attorney Decker, Bill?
Kale?
Kale, just a quick question on that. If we were to just make that amendment on the fly, would that be something that we could work within the existing ordinance? I mean, where do we need to republish?
Right now, the existing option out there is just allowing any type of residential use where there's no restriction. So it'd be more restrictive. Because it'd be more restrictive, I would want to publish again,
Okay, that's not a problem.
because it adds limitations to the land use
Thank you. Okay,
when it's published.
good.
Mr. Chair? So,
Alderman
Steve, in the duplex, there could be one upstairs, one downstairs, so you could have 16 kids. And does the single-family home have to be owner-occupied, or could a daycare rent a house and just put employees in there and run a daycare? Because in my head, I'm thinking, people live there and they take in a couple kids because it's a work-from-home situation, or one of the spouses or one of the adults in the house works from home or has the time, and that's kind of where I'm seeing these. But I'm just wondering, this would allow some business to rent a house in a single-family residence and but it's a limited use, so they have to come to us?
I'd have to take a look at the state statutes, because I think there's some limitations with that, yeah.
Sure, so the state law requires it to be a dwelling, which means someone has to be living there.
So the people running it have to live there, unless it's a 24/7 daycare, day and night care, the kids are sleeping there.
Well, so it would have to be someone calls that their
Did-
residence.
someone has to
lives
live there.
They
Okay.
could operate the daycare. It could be someone who's renting the building, who's living there.
But they still live
Tenant,
there, yeah,
still
they could be-
live there. That's the only standard, is that the operator has to live there.
Or someone has to live
Someone
there.
has to live there, correct.
Kale, isn't the state looking at making additional changes to the child care?
There are a slew of amendments pending right now. Not sure if they're gonna pass or not, but there's a lot of options out there right now for the state to even make it more flexible.
So might we be wise to hold this for another month or so and see what the state is going to do, rather than coming back and having another hearing and doing things all over again? Or should we just pass what we have now, and you can come in with another ordinance and hold another hearing when we figure out what the state's doing on the rest of it.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, why don't we just pass it the way it is?
Okay.
The way you held the hearing on, and then if we want to make any changes, you can come back and redo it.
Very good. Sounds good.
Alderman
Thank you.
Vitale.
yeah, the only objections really that I have is, we talk about duplexes, you know, to, really in a residential neighborhood, you start allowing, you know, actually daycare, which should be maybe utilize, the first level, or maybe it could be maybe tenants living upstairs, or maybe not, maybe it could be the entirety of the duplex would be with daycare services, you know? And to me, really, in a residential neighborhood, I don't think it will fit that, really. Why we open the door on something like that, really? What's the purpose of the city to do that, really? Why we don't stick with a single-family home, or a place where it could fit a daycare, really? I mean, I don't like in a four-family or two, I mean, to have a daycare either, really. I don't think that's appropriate, really. It's not fit. So duplex is the same thing. Come on, I mean, we open the
Alderman
door
Vitale, I
to-
think,
to something that we don't need to do,
I
really.
think what the state is trying to do is address the shortage of daycare facilities and the problem that working mothers have in finding childcare for
Parents,
their.
not just
for-
working mothers, Tom.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Working mothers
And fathers.
have a problem finding daycare for their children. And that's why the state is trying to loosen this up, to afford people more of an opportunity to get jobs outside of the home. The trend, again, today is less work at home, more work in the office. So most major employers are asking their people to come to work at least 3 days a week, minimum, many 4 days a week. So the work-at-home trend is disappearing. And so there's going to be a bigger need for childcare at home. And so I fully concur with the state's aims at doing this. And I can sympathize with you if you're concerned about, overrunning a duplex with, a lot of, children, but I don't really see that as probably being practical or happening in too many cases. I think it's more a situation of where somebody is already doing daycare and they've got 6 kids and they want to be able to take in a couple more. So I fully support any changes in this as long as they're reasonable.
So the way the code currently reads is that a child care center is a conditional use. If you adopt what's presented today, it would open it up to anyone in any residential building operating a child care center out of their dwelling. So adopting it today actually creates a very, very, very wide net, allowing some places to potentially open up and then become non-conforming uses at a later date. So if you do it and someone establishes their daycare in a 4-unit building, we could change the zoning code and that would have to continue. So if there's interest in narrowing that broad net, I would not adopt something today, and I would instead, if the committee would give Steve and I direction, we'd come back with another proposal saying either single family only, duplex only, or something like that, just to make sure that we don't temporarily cast or open this up too long.
Fair.
Mr.
Makes
Chair,
sense.
I mean, we do open a can of worm, really, but
Yeah, if we
follow
adopt
those
it now.
by adopting it, really. I mean, we gotta be very cautious about what we're doing, you know. I mean, to me, I don't care what the state says. I mean, they can pass a lot of stupid law in the past anyway, really.
Let me tell you about the county.
Forget
Vince.
about the state. Really. You know, in all fairness, but we open the door on something that the city of West Holly don't need, because there's enough daycares out there. I mean, that's why I'm saying,
Okay,
they can
let's-
house 100 people.
We're gonna
100 kids.
hold this item until the attorney's office and staff come back with some firmer recommendations.
Mr. Chair, so what's on the screen is option 2 is what would be legally required to meet the state law minimums, which we do have to choose what to publish for the next time around. So if the committee could give us direction on whether you want to have the duplexes included or just single family, that would be helpful.
I don't have a problem with a duplex.
Mr. Chair?
You?
I agree with you, yeah.
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 I'm fine with single family and duplex only.
Okay.
Yep.
I'd like to cap the duplex at 8 total So
The what?
I like to cap the duplex at eight,
Eight
not eight
children?
downstairs and 8 upstairs.
Oh, 8 total for a duplex.
8 total for a duplex.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's
Look,
fine.
16 kids in
Yeah,
a
I know.
duplex? I'm just trying to imagine that. I mean, 8's a lot.
Hey, years ago,
It's enough.
years ago,
I
it was
know.
common.
Cap.
One family.
Right?
Yeah.
So then are we holding the nicotine one also since they go together, or are
Yes.
we? Okay.
Hold them both, right?
Let's give some direction too on the
Well, it's one
nicotine one,
ordinance,
which way we
right?
want to go.
That's one,
Yep. I can,
yeah, which way do you want to go on the nicotine one?
let me go back
Can
here.
you go back?
Yeah.
While he's doing that, if the committee wishes to pass just one of them, that is possible tonight. You just move to amend by removing any reference to child care centers, and then you would adopt only the nicotine ordinance.
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Separate ordinance
Okay.
one can come through with, any
Mr. Chair. Kale, I think that's very nice of you giving us all these options, but nope, it's too many choices. I think we should hold it all,
Yeah,
all,
I agree.
but give staff direction as far as which options we want. Thank you, though, Kale. Yeah, so I like option 2.
I do too.
Option
which
2 is fine.
Again, Marty's idea, and,
Well, I didn't write it.
Yeah, option
still,
2 is
yeah,
fine.
That's a good, Maybe.
Steve, can I ask, is there a reason, are we concerned about leaving a door open if we don't pass a nicotine
So we-
management change today, or?
We're looking at, I mean, so the city of Milwaukee recently updated its ordinance, and recently, just within West Dallas, there's been some businesses.
So
that it-
Milwaukee made it tighter.
Milwaukee
and
made it
people that were
tighter.
gonna go into Milwaukee are
So
now
we're looking at
West
it from
Dallas.
that perspective too, is that there's gonna be some spillover, so we wanna sort of adjust our regulations as well, so we don't become, you know, an easier target, I guess, for certain uses. So by going to 10%, that would be similar to Milwaukee. The difference would be that I think Milwaukee imposes a separation clause of 1,500 feet or so, 1,000, 1,500 feet, something like that. We would just say outright ban if you're over 10% of the floor area being devoted to nicotine sales.
If it's not confusing, I'd move that we pass option 2 nicotine management.
I think
Thing.
option 2 would have to be reposted.
Option 2
Because it's
would
more
be
restrictive.
stricter
Oh, okay.
than what
Yeah.
we had
Okay,
published.
never mind
Yeah.
then. Next
Yeah.
time.
Hold them all.
Okay, so we're gonna hold all those. Then we have item 53, which is a resolution approving certified survey map for 9333 West Lincoln.
Move approval.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 54 is a resolution to approve a development agreement between the City of West Dallas and 3LP West Dallas LLC for 8530 56 West National.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for approval. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And this one we will act on separately. Richard, if you would, please.
Item 55?
We're going to act on 54 separately after recess to council. And Alderman has asked it to be
Oh, when it
acted on
gets pulled out, when it
separately.
goes to the floor. Okay.
Item 55 is a resolution to approve the purchase and sale development agreement between Baum Revision and City of West Dallas and Community Development Authority.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Mr. Chair,
Aye.
discussion, please?
Yes.
I don't believe we have consensus. The Community Development Authority has not acted on this. Is that correct? Okay, so this is not, the Community Development Authority, which meets next week, has not voted on this, has not made a decision on this yet.
It is a recommendation from the CDA. And then, this one would be both city and CDA.
Yeah.
This
We-
agreement, so this is fulfilling the city aspect of it.
Yeah, we're doing our part. The
I
community
understand
development
that,
still
but,
has to, right?
We have a public hearing on the sale of the land on September 12th.
Okay, I had also asked that I could speak to the tenant on this project, and I don't know if that's been scheduled yet.
It has not been scheduled. We've been asking for that since the last CDA meeting.
Yes, so
Had some engagements this
I-
weekend, and
yeah, I still have, I think across the board, we're in favor of the plan, but I still have some serious questions about, that I'd like some answers on personally as an alderman. And I'm on the CDA, but here as an alderman, I'll be voting no on this today. I'd like to vote yes on it at a later date.
we're we're seeking approval tonight because we're working towards a deadline to get this to.
I understand that.
For the
Yeah.
property to the tenant.
Yeah, well, I understand that.
That they, represent.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have gone through the parking.
Yeah, I was
We
gonna
met
ask
with
that.
the consultant today, and we do get 130, if not more stalls out of the parking area. And so we're gonna work to, we meet the development requirement side for the tenant. But there's an opportunity to gain more parking and to address the neighbor abutting property.
Have you spoken to the neighbor about, has the neighbor seen the new parking plan?
I just got it today.
Okay.
So the 130, well, how much would that leave them?
That would be 130 would be for, in the development agreement, we represented to the tenant that we would provide 130 stalls.
So what would that leave then?
Zero.
Would be none in that case for the abutting property. But with the other layout that we represented to them, because the plan that they did present, could get to 150. So again, an extra 20 stalls that we could work to provide the
But-
neighbor.
So then the 130 would be private?
Exclusively,
Exclusive?
not shared.
Only shared on days that are not utilized by the event space.
I would probably like to have more discussion on that also. I mean, I don't think it should be a deal breaker, but I get people are gonna have to park and walk and whatnot, but that parking lot that we're given, I know they're putting in a lot of investment, I get it, is a $750,000 exclusive parking lot to one tenant on the taxpayers' dollars. So I think we have to, I would personally like to have a little bit more discussion on that.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Vitale.
you know, like we talked about earlier already, in regard to that, I mean, I like to see the, like everybody else, I'm sure, willing just as well, to move forward, with the project. You know, we have a National Avenue, Major Street, really, on both sides. You know, to me, I mean, we try to make again, is coming back for further discussions. I mean, the parking, you always gonna be an issue. On the east end, we have a business place, they don't have no parking at all. So to me, I mean, we have a development like that, and we're gonna hold this until we have a further discussions of parking. There is parking on the street. If people gotta walk half a mile or quarter of a mile or 20 feet or 50 feet, I don't see no issue there, really. I don't think there's gonna be any problems that we can really facing in the future to go through with this development. To me, it's lingering the issue here, don't make no sense because it's not gonna be any better. That's the way it is, and that's it.
Mr. Chair, I've been asking questions about this proposal for a long time, like what's the legal occupancy of this event space going to be? Usually, by the time we get to this point in the discussion, we have a full rendering of what the building's going to look like. I understand that they say they can't, present that today because of the tax credits of the National Park Service, but we haven't seen anything. And I don't think it was too much for me to ask for a face-to-face to talk. We've heard from the developer, but we haven't heard from the actual, I haven't spoken to the tenant. Has anybody else in the room here, other than staff, spoken to the tenant? Has staff spoken to the tenant? Has anyone here spoken to the tenant?
Alderman Weigel, I asked staff to set up a meeting between,
I have asked. I've asked repeatedly.
I've asked
Yeah.
staff to set up a meeting between 4 older people, 2 from the CDA, and 1 older person from the district, and another older person to meet with the developer at separate times, because you can't
Yeah,
have,
quorum.
because of quorum requirements, to have 2 meetings with the developer, or not the developer, the tenant, and that never came to be.
We've made that request urgently to them
Yeah.
multiple times, but they said they were just really busy and they couldn't make that obligation.
Now, I have firmly agree with Alderman Vitale. We're at a point where we better start moving forward with this. The committee of the whole sat there and said, yes, we all want to move forward with this. Now, I don't think that holding it up 2 weeks is going to kill this project. So I don't have a problem with holding it up 2 weeks, but I think in 2 weeks, we better be prepared to make a vote on this.
Understood?
Agreed.
Okay. Moving on. Item 56 is the new Class A liquor and beer license for Family Dollar stores. Agent Logan Rumbaugh. Mr. Rumbaugh here? I am. Want to come up to the table?
Absolutely. Good evening.
Hi. Are you familiar with the liquor laws in the state of Wisconsin?
I am.
And you're going to have a full-fledged liquor store at the Family Dollar? Or, you know, what is your operation going to look like?
I haven't received finalized like planogram documents, but typically it's like a core assortment of beer and wine items.
Not liquor?
Don't believe so, no.
Class A liquor would allow them to require it at some point in the future if they wanted to.
Yeah.
If the restriction on wine is something that the council wants to do, I'd have no problem imposing that restriction as long as the licensee agrees to it.
Okay, so you have, I'll ask that question. What if the council put a restriction and said no liquor, just beer and wine?
I don't see any issues with that.
We can do that.
I don't know if there's, I would personally make a motion to deny based on the amount of options to buy alcohol and or consume it. Alone, there's Express Pantry on 85th and Greenfield. There is Super Bottle, there is Olympia Liquor, there's State Fair Liquor, there's 76 and National, there is Festival Foods, there's Walsh's, there's 84th in Cleveland, there's 91st in Cleveland, there's 92nd in Schlinger. There is Stingers, Dickens, Lemansky, Odd E, and O'Connor's, all within 2 miles. I do not feel that adding a Class A alcohol license adds any value or additional investment beyond what the current operations are of what it would outweigh to add another place to buy alcohol. You can throw a rock and you can buy beer.
I second the motion to deny.
It's been moved and seconded to deny. Any comments or questions from the council?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman
question for
Weigel?
the applicant. Is this going to provide any new jobs? You going to hire anybody else to handle the new expected sales? Are you going to be investing other than some beer coolers in the property?
So the clearest way that I can answer that is that we do hope that this helps us increase sales, and the labor planning is based exclusively off of the sales budget. So sales equals labor in our
I
world.
understand.
Um,
Do we have a requirement of number of employees in a Class A 2 at all time? We don't, I know some communities were doing that at one time for safety.
No.
Okay, that was my only question.
Any other comments or questions? Then the motion is to deny the license. All in favor of the motion to deny, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's denied.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 57 is discussion regarding potential rezoning of Lane Intermediate School at 1300 South 109th Street from RA3 to C3. And I think we have some school board people here to speak to us. Want to come up and join us at the table here?
Shelley Strasser, the rec department is here.
Push the button so the green light's on. There we go.
Steve, perhaps you could
Sure.
start us off?
Sure. So Shelley, representing the school district and rec department, and her architect designer Nathan with Growth Design. They're here this evening to talk about the Lane Intermediate School, which the school board has determined will no longer be a school. They're looking to repurpose that for a rec facility. It is along the Highway 100 corridor. It's about a 2.5 acre property, and a good portion of this would be demolished. The gym, the newer portion of the building here, would be saved, and then there'd be 2 subsequent additions onto the building. There would be one, about an acre of land left over at the very south end. As you get closer to the intersection of Highway 100 with Greenfield, about an acre of leftover land that could be developed, sold, or developed in the future. It's just another bird's eye view. And I'll let Nathan and Shelley talk a little bit more about this. But one thing with any rezoning, you have to think about, in this area, the context of Highway 100 and Greenfield Avenue. We had a Highway 100 corridor plan. a couple of years ago, and I'll just get through some of these slides here. But with respect to, what is good for the corridor, uses that diversify, the mix of uses along the corridor are important. As per the plan, the focus on increasing mobility and connectivity between properties to create walkable destinations, to give Highway 100 a distinct brand and identity, and to promote the desired development patterns in and throughout the corridor, really to sort of help revitalize it over the next decade, 20 years planning horizon. So one has to ask, I guess, could a rezoning to commercial, could it fit and help the future growth of this corridor? And I think from the planning perspective, our answer is yes. I think rezoning it to commercial does make sense. I think there's a good argument for that in terms of, in the school district's case, basically, it's taking an older building, renovating it, putting on some additions. It would be a destination of sorts, a second rec facility within the community. And then there is some acreage left over to the south that could be redeveloped, sort of in alignment with our corridor plan. If you look to this is the school district lane property here. That acre of developable land would be here, and then to the south there's an additional 2.5 acres, a strip mall, and about 6 to 8 properties between there. Again, that most of these are already zoned commercial. There's some back here that are zoned residential. And then further south of that, I think there's just future opportunity within this basic intersection here to really do something a lot bigger. What that is at this point, I'm not sure, but I mean, could that be residential, multifamily, additional housing opportunities within this area? I think it's definitely possible and feasible. If you look at the TOSA to the north along the corridor, or you go further south down the Hales Corners, Greenfield, they have apartment developments and mixed-use types of things along the Highway 100 corridor. So just something to consider. I'll turn it over to Shelley and her team. So, and feel free to let me know. I'll be your slide person here if you want to.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you and good evening, everyone. Just to give you a little bit of a timeline on this process, last September, our department went before the Board of Education and provided a proposal of what our vision was for this property, and somewhat based off of our current rec center, but we wanted to be able to provide more opportunities on the west side of town. After that, they asked for us to hold a community meeting, in which we did in mid-October, where we shared kind of what our preliminary plans were with residents, allowed them to come and ask questions. And then we went back to the board in October for approval to move forward, of which the Board of Education supports and approved. And then in March, we hired C.G. Schmidt and Growth Design Group to start helping us through that process. This will be a phased plan, so as Steve mentioned, our plans are to keep the newest section of what currently is Lane. One of the primary reasons is the gym there. It is one of the newest in the community and one of the absolute few that has air conditioning. And with recent climate and temperatures, that's hard to come by. So, and believe it or not, gym space in our community is at a premium, so we wanted to be able to preserve that, plus it's in great shape. In addition to that, we have outgrown our current rec center, and even that property is currently going under construction for an addition. It's been really great. We've partnered more with the senior center, our health department, and this would also then be able to provide additional opportunities on the west side. So in keeping that new section, the upstairs will be fully remodeled, so what are currently classrooms will be converted to a space for our parent and child classes, so some of our youngest families. Meeting space, we plan to move, we offer spin classes, which are exercise bike classes, those will move there, and then just additional multi-purpose space. From there, so as we mentioned, the first phase will include demolition and obviously then sealing up of the new section and moving all mechanicals, so electrical, plumbing, HVAC, all that. The next phase, and then again with the remodel of the second floor, also part of that is with the district relocating from the administration center currently on 70th Street. We're looking for a home for our Board of Education rooms, so we plan to also move that there on the second floor, but that'll be also kind of some multi-purpose space, right? They primarily use it Monday evenings, once a week, that space could be used for multiple other things throughout the week. And then the next phases, which are still in development, would be a community fitness center that would be available for not only residents, but also district staff. This is very comparable and similar to other districts, South Milwaukee, Shorewood, Greenfield School District. I know Cudahy is currently looking at this, and this would also be available, like I said, to community members, and some have asked, well, don't we kind of have that? There's a lot to be said that community members like to exercise in spaces they're comfortable with, spaces that they can afford, in more of a community atmosphere, so that's what this would provide them. And then the last phase we're planning is a warm water, shallow, like 4 feet depth warm water pool, which is often used parent-child classes, senior water exercise, therapy classes, and then a lap walking pool. So I know when people hear the word pool, it is not like a competition pool or a school pool, much smaller, and water is much warmer.
In these pictures, where's the pool, Steve? Can you cursor over that?
I think, just sit here, Nathan. Oh, okay, yep. Yep.
Okay.
Shelley mentioned the warm water pool, and then another component of that we've been discussing with the rec department is a walking pool, which intended for low impacts cardiovascular opportunities still. The fitness center, Shelley, as you noted as well, so a bit hard to see on the screen here, but the first phase of future potential addition that we've outlined is kind of this zone, and then the future phase of addition is that zone.
Okay. And then, yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Alderman Haas.
Yeah, and then Shelley or whoever can answer this, what's the timeline for phase one? Is that immediate with the demolition, then building phase one immediately, or is there going to be a gap?
Yeah, I'll start,
Okay,
Shelley, and
yep.
you weigh in. It's still to be determined in some instances. I know that the Board of Education has worked closely with the rec department in establishing the overall project budget, but that still is dependent on year-to-year specific funding dollar amounts as the Board of Education approves their budget, their annual budget, basically. So what the school board has formally approved is demolition and I think renovation, kind of our phase 0 project, and the phase 1 of the addition, which would include the fitness center, still pending final decisions on funding components from the school board. It does, I know, Shelley, you mentioned still in development, still in concept. So while we don't have massing information or 3D renderings, we understand that this project, as it moves forward, would need to go through those processes of architectural and plan review and plan review approval as well. So we're excited to share that information in the future where we can. We're just not there yet.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, and I want to say this sounds like a great project. I'm excited about this. My kids went to Lane, and they complained daily about what a dump it was. But that's just an aside.
But not the new part.
But not the new part. The new part was good. Yeah, right. Which when they were in 6th grade, they were in the new part. 7th and 8th, then you're in the older part. And so, yeah, this looks like it's my district and Alderperson Reinke's district. Be a great asset for the community, and I'm excited about this.
Mr. Chair?
Alderwoman Keene.
All right, thanks, Finn. For the parcel that's gonna be developed or could potentially be sold, do you have any interested folks, like, in mind of what you might be doing with the area, where it might go?
I'll say no, and only because that hasn't even been approved by the board yet. We've just sort of have left that parcel, but that'll be a decision the Board of Education can make, whether to keep it, sell it, and if it is sell it, right, we'll work with the city, as Steve shared. We're hoping this can be that catalyst that the city is looking for future development in that area, so we'd want to make sure it's a good fit.
Alderman Vitale?
Yeah, Charlie, I do really like the idea of the worm pool, really. I've been going to Greendale, they have a village club, which, I mean, you pay something, you know, but it really, it attracts hundreds of people, you know, really. So to me, I mean, it would be something great if the school could do it, you know, by laws, maybe created some type of a fee to utilize that pool. And to me, that's, for the city of West Allis, I think that's a great move, really. I mean, I like the idea, really.
I think it would be comparable to the kind of our fee schedule that we have now, where, you know, obviously we set a fee for residents, and then non-residents pay a higher fee. You know, they still have access, and that does help set cost of operations. But part
Shelley,
of
what is that fee schedule at the rec center? That you're-
I mean, it really varies based on the, you know, if it's a exercise class, if it's a youth sport program, if it's a, you know, walking track pass. It just depends on what the program or, you know, service is. But the
Yeah,
other,
so, and I'm sorry for interrupting you, but just to clarify, so yeah, that folks don't pay a monthly fee at the rec center at all, like a private for-profit gym. It's just à la carte. It's pay as you go for whatever programs you choose for. Yeah, thank you.
My concern is the vacant parcel. I very much want to see that back on the tax rolls, very much. We were kind of hoping that Lanewood entire parcel would be on the tax rolls at some point. But at least if this parcel, if you people have a plan for that or come up with some idea for making a taxable use on that vacant parcel, it would make this project a lot more palatable, a lot easier to sell. Because then we've got something and we can say, yes, we weren't getting taxes here, but we are now. I don't have any problem with the zoning request. I think that's, you know, consistent with what, you know, we're looking for on Highway 100, according to the plan. But I'd like to really see some taxable value on that vacant site.
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Weigel.
I was going to mention that specific thing. I understand that you want to get the ball rolling, and I'll be supporting the rezoning, but I guess I'd like the message to go to the school board that we'd like to see something. And I guess we'd like to see that, we don't want, in 5 years, I hope there's something there. Okay.
I was gonna say, we have two school board members here tonight, yeah.
I hope they,
Yeah.
yeah, I hope you can hear that. And I'm look,
Honestly, the school board really wants to work with the city and create more collaborative relationships. So, you know, honestly, you know, we're all citizens of West Allis, so we want to see best for our city. So definitely we'll take that message back that, you know, getting something back on the tax rolls.
Yeah,
We'll all benefit from it.
and I would echo the other comments. Nice to see something on the west side of town. I'm looking at the shape of the parcel. So right now you own a lot of that except for that little spot where the restaurant is with that little parking lot. So you're gonna have plenty of parking and that green space in the northwest, whatever corner that is. Yeah. Is that gonna be, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, north, yeah, whatever. That's gonna stay green space temporarily, or do you have another plan for the rest of that? Buying out the restaurant, going further north? Can't let that out of the
We
bag
want
yet?
more tax
Getting ahead of
money.
the thing, okay.
Yeah,
Well-
right now, the plan is to keep the green space. There is some outdated playground equipment there, so I guess as the project develops, if anything, we would look to do maybe something similar to what we've done on 68th Street and just, you know, kind of revitalize that playground and put in different, more, you know, up-to-date equipment, and that equipment that's a little, you know, varied for all ages, not just a specific age group.
But I'm in favor of it, you know. What's the alternative?
Well,
Yeah, vacant
let's
for
not
decades,
let's
again.
not keep our vision narrow. Let's look big.
Yeah.
I mean, if a potential development would come up where it required us purchasing other properties and doing something a little larger, I think we'd be open to at least looking at that. So, you know, don't just think, well, we only have an acre here. Maybe that acre could be 3 acres. So, you know, if you people have anything in mind or have any inkling of what might go there, we're open to discussions.
Yeah, we could move further south along Highway 100.
Yep. So, let's all keep talking and keep looking at opportunities.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
No.
Next item on the
Does-
agenda
does it be
is
placed on
item.
file?
Pardon?
Move to place on file.
Second.
Okay.
Do we need
There's
that?
there's no communication, it's just
Okay,
discussion.
Okay.
Item 58 is an ordinance to rezone property at 9343 West Lincoln from RC to C2.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. All right, and the administration committee shall come to order. All 5 members are present. There it is. Item 51 is a discussion regarding the overdue delivery of a pumping engine from Seagrave Fire Apparatus LLC. And I'll read us into closed session. For item number 51, the Administration Committee may convene in closed session pursuant to the provisions of Wisconsin Statute Section 19.851G for conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation which it is or is likely to become involved. The Administration Committee may reconvene in open session after the completion of the closed session to consider the balance of the agenda. Can I have a motion to go into
Motion to go
closed-
into closed session.
Second.
And Alderman Lysick.
Aye.
Alderwoman Keene.
Aye.
Alderman Vitale. Alderman Weigel.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, and so we are in closed session.